whatever it takes.
So you've probably heard the buzz about Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man possibly making a comeback in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? It's got fans all excited, and honestly, there are a bunch of cool ways they could pull it off without leaving us feeling disappointed. According to this article I stumbled upon, Marvel might be eyeing a way to get Iron Man back in action. We know that they've got this whole multiverse thing going on now, thanks to all the wild stuff happening in Loki Season 2. Spoiler alert. Basically, they've opened up tons of possibilities for characters to pop in and out of the MCU, whether it's through alternate versions or clever storytelling tricks. With all that in mind, bringing back Iron Man doesn't seem too far-fetched. Marvel's got the tools to make it work without it feeling forced or out of place. And let's be real, who wouldn't want to see Tony Stark suit up again for another adventure? So yeah, whether it's through some multiverse shenanigans or a clever plot twist, it's totally possible we haven't seen the last of Iron Man. And personally, I'm all for it. So here are a few ways Tony Stark could return as Iron Man. An AI hologram simulation was built by Tony and is like Tony. So you know how in the Marvel movies, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, whipped up some seriously cool stuff like Jarvis, Vision, and Ultron? Well, now there's talk about making an AI hologram version of him with an empty Iron Man suit. Sounds neat, right? But hold your horses. Fans aren't too keen on the idea because, let's face it, it wouldn't really be the same as having the real Tony Stark around. Let's hope they come up with something better. Another way is through the side effects of these soul and mind gems. Remember how Tony Stark met his end while wearing those powerful Infinity Gems? Well, what if somehow his consciousness got tied up with the suit he was wearing at the time? I mean, those gems are like magic, right? And we've seen them do some crazy stuff in the past, especially in shows like WandaVision. Maybe Tony's soul and mind are just hanging out in that suit, waiting for the right moment to jump back into action. Imagine his daughter stumbling upon this unexpected surprise while searching for a way to help the Avengers fight Kang. Now that would be one heck of a twist, wouldn't it? Let's see if the Marvel Universe can pull off something as mind-bending as this. Moving on, we have the Ultimate Iron Man variant. Alright, so let's explore some possibilities for bringing back Tony Stark in the Earth 616 universe. But here's the catch. All the options involve versions of Tony from other Earths. First up, we've got the early 2000s Iron Man from the Ultimate Universe of comics, which kicked off in 2001. Now, this Iron Man is quite different from what we're used to. Picture a suit with a wide samurai-style helmet, beefier armor with bell-bottom arms and legs, and a metallic gray torso and limbs. But here's where it gets really interesting. This version of Tony Stark is not your typical guy. His origin story takes a wild turn. His mother was infected with a bioengineered virus while pregnant with him, or rather, Antonio, which made his skin super sensitive and turned him into a super genius. So yeah, we're talking about a Tony Stark who's a bit more unconventional, to say the least. But hey, in the world of comics, anything is possible, right? Let's see where this alternate version of Iron Man could take us. Now the next one is the most rumored one, Superior Iron Man. Back when Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was still in the works, there was some buzz going around that Tom Cruise might pop up as Superior Iron Man, possibly joining the Illuminati. Now that didn't end up happening, but let me tell you, Earth 838 has its own version of Tony Stark, no doubt about it. Just take a look at those Ultron droids. In the Season 1 finale of What If, we get a glimpse of a totally original variant of Tony Stark. This guy pops up in just one scene alongside Gamora, and then the Watcher swoops in to snatch her away for his Guardians of the Multiverse crew. Now, what's interesting about this Tony is his getup. Think chunky armor sporting a bold orange, yellow, and turquoise color scheme. But we don't really get much else about this version of Tony. All we know is that he's gone all interstellar and is teaming up with a Gamora variant. In the scene, he's pitching his idea of spreading Stark suits across the galaxy, which kinda sounds like a deja vu of his Ultron blunder that caused a whole mess in the multiverse. When the Watcher shows up, he gives Stark the cold shoulder, muttering a dismissive, "Not you, Stark," probably because of the havoc Ultron caused across the multiverse. Still, despite his checkered past, This Tony is one of the few MCU variants still kicking, making him a prime candidate for a spot in Secret Wars. Moving on, we have Iron Sorcerer Supreme. Let's shift our perspective from speculating about possibilities to considering why they can become realities. In an alternate universe known as Earth 9810, Tony Stark not only advances his armor technology, but also assumes the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme. This dual role elevates him to one of the most formidable iterations of Iron Man, ranking only second to another remarkable variant. The Iron Sorcerer possesses all the capabilities of both Doctor Strange and the Iron Man of Earth 616. A glimpse of this intriguing fusion was teased in a behind-the-scenes video from Endgame, where Robert Downey Jr. is seen donning Doctor Strange's cloak of levitation. The concept of Tony Stark as Sorcerer Supreme may seem out of place initially, but it strangely fits perfectly. Last but not least, Doctor Strange and Tony Stark share similar traits. They're witty, exceptionally intelligent middle-aged men sporting goatees, reminiscent of the 1990s club scene. And lastly, we have a Gen X version of Iron Man. The variant we might encounter could resonate more strongly with seasoned comic book readers than the portrayal seen in the Earth 616 film adaptation. In the late 1980s comics, there was a brief storyline where Tony Stark found himself paralyzed, robbed of the use of his legs following a gunshot-induced spinal cord injury. This iteration of Stark paralleled earlier depictions of Thor and the Hulk in Marvel Comics, where their human identities bore no outward signs of their heroic abilities. Thor's human guise, Donald Blake, was a man reliant on a cane due to a weak or injured leg, while Bruce Banner, the human form of the Hulk, was portrayed as a physically unimposing figure with deep emotional scars and struggles with anger management. The underlying concept, conceived by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, was clear: a Superman-like character lacking an understanding of human frailty or the pain of existence could easily turn into a villain. This version of Tony Stark, familiar with pain and grappling with alcoholism, embodies these themes. It's plausible that if a movie adaptation had been made in the late 1990s, this iteration of Stark, with his vulnerabilities and struggles, could have been the one we saw on screen. Well, that's it for today. Which of these potential storylines or versions of Tony Stark are you most excited to see on the big screen? Or perhaps you have your own ideas for how Iron Man could return. Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on all things Marvel. Until next time, true believers,